Hey everybody, it's BATJAC J.W. and good morning. Hopefully you have your coffee. Well, actually, maybe you might not be tuned in the morning. So, pawn shops, yeah. Let's talk about pawn shops because pawn shops are really cool because you can score a lot of good stuff in them, and for a lot less of a price, really. Uh, when I'm looking to buy, say, a firearm, usually the first place I go is a pawn shop. I really don't go right to the gun shop per se. Not necessarily, because gun shops are always going to put that price tag on it, and there's normally most of the time, they it's high, and they're not gonna come down on prices. That's not their business. Their business is put a price tag on it, and that's it. Pawn shops, on the other hand, they expect you to come back with a lower number, and so it's that dance you play, and that's really cool, and that's what also makes gun shows fun. Well, at least for the most part. Some people that tend to gun shows that put out their table and sell stuff don't realize that. That's how it goes. You put numbers out, you play numbers, and you see what number you can agree on. So for this matter, I always felt that going to pawn shops were the best of all places. So I'm gonna kind of take you back in time about 8 years ago, back on the island, when I saw Smith & Wesson Model 37 for sale. Smith & Wesson Model 37, if you don't know, is the aluminum framed version of the Model 36, the Chief Special 1950 and all that. It's the cool factor. It's a really cool classic snubby revolver. It's like the old detective gun, per se. So when I first saw it, I didn't know much about what it is, all the value and all that. I still don't know. But anyway, I was quoted a price of $675 by the guy that had the shop, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like that just seems really high to me. Maybe he is right, but I just, for me, $675, I was like, yeah, I'll pass. No way. It just seems ridiculous. So now let's go back to present time. Now here, living out in the middle of the desert and surrounded by pawn shops, and I have my select handful that I go to because I know the fellas that run the gun section of the pawn shops, and so I saw just recently, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, or whatever, a Model 37 in one of my favorite pawn shops. So I'm talking to my friend there, and we're going back and forth. And I said, "Oh, look at that!" I said, "Oh, I got to see that." So I picked it up, fondled her, like we always do, and so he showed, and I kind of told him, what happened, my first encounter with one, and he tells me, he goes, "Well, how about this?" He goes, $350 out the door if you want it. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, we're talking $350 out the door. Just let's do this. And I kind of was like, oh my gosh, okay, you know. So I passed, but I'm not looking to buy anything right now. So, but there goes to show you. Now that's my thinking is like, shouldn't that have been like the opposite of what's going on? Shouldn't it have been like 350 back then and 675 today? You would think that would be the way it would go, but no, not in that case. And that's why I love pawn shops so much, is because they give you the prices you're getting are just, they're so low and so I think more realistic. Here's somebody, that trying to, drag me over the coals and, pay, win the jackpot off of me for $675 plus tax now, for probably a pistol they probably bought off of some poor old widow for $100. you know, so anyhow, and I've found so many deals like that in pawn shops. That's where I found my Steve McQueen high standard Riot, K120 12 gauge shotgun that was used in Getaway. Not the one, but the one like it. And that's why it's like so cool, because I like that shotgun a lot, and that's going to be one shotgun that I must try to tug along wherever it is I go. That's going to be the one I have to kind of take with me. So that's really cool. and I found that. And then one other time was I found this. I'm probably saying the name wrong. Maruchan. It was a PPK in 32, and it had the old like brown grips on it, the Bakelite looking brown grips on it. And now the only thing was it was missing its rear sight, and I probably could have found that online. But man, I really wanted that thing, and I kicked tires on it for a long time. I really didn't have a lot of cash to spare for it. I was in between jobs, per se, and I really always thought about it. But, I've seen some stuff in pawn shops, man. I've seen Model 10s. I've seen, you can go in there and get a nice 1911. I mean, right now I see it right now at the same one that has the Model 37. They have a Colt Railgun 1911, $700. And you probably could offer them $6 and walk out of there with it. That's the thing. It's like that. That's why I like pawn shops so much, because you never know what you're going to find, and the price is always going to be pretty reasonable, and you can always make a deal with them, especially if you have a good relationship with the person that, pretty much they have the gun counter guy or whoever, they expect you to haggle with them. So they're going to shoot that price higher than what they expect to come down, because they got X into it, and you're going to be offering them, whatever Y above that, and you're hoping that the two of you can come and meet in the middle somewhere, away from, the two ends of the scale there. So that's why it's so neat. And, that's why also I do not go into gun shops firsthand to buy a pistol or buy a gun. I just won't, especially a brand new one that just opened up. Of course, I'm not going to go in there and buy a gun. They're trying to get as much cash as they can. I'm not made out of money. So, I mean, hey, if you have all the money in the world, then who cares, right? Buy it wherever you see it and pay whatever you want for it. But I don't. So, that's how I do it. And I think it's fun to, jump and throw numbers on the table. It's always fun to kind of throw numbers back and forth. It really is. So, that's why I also like, that's why gun shows are so fun, because you can always, throw numbers out there, throw numbers. Hey, I'll give you this much for it. No, no. How about this? How about that? That's the fun part about it. Some people that attend to those gun shows don't realize that. That's the part of it. You don't go there and just put a price tag on it and say, that's it. No up, no down. That's not the fun. That's not why people go there. Part of the fun of selling and buying is that numbers game, throwing numbers back and forth, and trying to see what the lowest you can to get for them. So, let's go back to the, very first time I was out here, in the beginning when I first landed my boots out here. I had, all through the time, that movie, The Getaway with Steve McQueen, it was always like, what's that shotgun he has? What is that and all that. So, I saw when I was at a gun show, I saw one, and this guy was looking at it. It was and he bought it on that spot before I could even get it in my hands. It was sold. Not that I could have bought it anyway. I didn't have a state ID or whatever. I didn't really know how it all worked anyhow. So, it got sold right before my eyes. Now, this one wasn't the exact one because it had rifled sights on it, rifle type sights on it. It wasn't like the gold bead on the front like he has in the movie. So, but it's still like, it really, it's like, I can't believe that. Just, but, there he is. I walked into a pawn shop, a year or so later, and there it is. And boom, right there on the shelf. I was looking, remember I've talked about it before. I was always looking for that Walther P99 9mm because it's the James Bond gun from the 90s and to Casino Royale. Stayed away from it because it was always expensive. Well, I know where there's a pawn shop right now that has one for, it's $300. I mean, it's so hard sometimes to pass on these things. But of course, every time I go in there, you know, I pass on that stuff, wound up with a big stack of DVDs for the price of one. So, but that would be, you know, something that I wanted to bring to light is going into pawn shops. Of course, now depends on where you're at. And like I said, some places the pawn shops don't carry the guns. Um, you know, you can always find that good deal. Now you got to know you got to know a little bit of what you're looking at too. You have to know what to look at for as wear and tear, breakage, and all that. Now, like the one I usually always go to, they honor their stuff. They say, you know, hey, within a month or so, you know, you find something that's wrong with it, bring it back. We have a gunsmith on site that we use to fix it up. So stuff like that, you know, you can always remember they'll treat you right. You know, a lot of the good ones will treat you right, and they usually have somebody that inspects a lot of that stuff. But you know, if you know what you're looking for, you know, you can pretty much easily, you know, identify what you got in there. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'm BATJAC J.W, and that's Pawn Shops for you.